This is the next video in the guerrilla cooking series. I'm going back to World War I, a recipe from the U.S. Army. Now, someone over the years did pare this down to kind of a smaller serving than what would have happened in a mess kitchen. I tried this out. I'm going to give you the instructions to make an individual serving, but what I will be making on the video here will be enough for 2 people for me and combat cameraman. And what I'm going to be making today is creamed chip beef, also known as SOS, stuff on a shingle. You know what word to substitute for the first one. Also referred to as creamed beef. Now I will mention the beef that can be used for this, it's said to use whatever beef was available. It could be dry beef, which is extremely expensive. It can be jerky, which is what I'm doing. It can be ground beef, which would be something that would have been more towards the field kitchen behind the trenches. If they were going to attempt this in the trench, it said in there they would use corned beef, canned corned beef. When I've done that in the past, it turns it into a really disgusting looking pink mess, but it tastes just fine. You just got to get past the way it looks. Now, before you're going to start this, because of how quickly it goes, you need to go through, if you're doing jerky, shred it up, cut it into small bits, get your beef ready. And then also get your other ingredients ready right away. Have them sitting nearby so that you can put them right in at the appropriate time here. Now I'm going to be using Combat Cameraman's mess kit for this. So we're going to use the pot, and we're going to use his fry pan and his plate for serving up. First thing that we're going to need for an individual serving is 1 tablespoon of butter or bacon grease. I got some bacon grease here. I've been using it for experimenting with. Remember, a USGI spoon is about 1 tablespoon. It says to melt the butter, or in this case, my bacon butter, over a medium heat. You're going to want to keep this at a lower heat while you are making it. I found that out when I experimented on this. Like I said, I'm telling you the instructions for a single serving, but I am making a double. Now, because I am using jerky, I figured I'm going to give this a try, see if it'll help. I'm going to add the jerky in with my fats here. To work on trying to soften them up just a little bit more. It turned out just fine when I did it, but I'm trying to see if I can soften it just a bit more. Now, the amount of beef you're supposed to add is about 2 ounces worth. This package is about 3 ounces worth. If you're using really dry jerky because you did it yourself at home, you might want to consider soaking it a little bit to rehydrate it. I had a soldier before I retired. His father would do jerky, and he did it for long-term storage, and he would dry it to the point where if you tried to take a bite out of it, you chipped a tooth. Okay, so the butter is melted. Now we're going to slowly add in, for a single serving, 1 tablespoon of white flour. This is going to be the thickening agent for our gravy, and it says to add this before we continue on. It says add a little at a time and stir it in. And mix it in with your fats, either your melted butter or my bacon butter, as I'm doing here. Okay. So got all that in there. Once that mixes in with the fat, then I move on to the next step. Okay. Now you're going to add approximately 1 cup of milk. And you add this slowly. It says stir it continuously while you're doing it. Now in the field, you obviously are not going to have fresh milk very often. And they didn't in World War I either. And they had a substitute for that. And what they used was evaporated milk, not condensed, evaporated. Condensed has sugar added, evaporated does not. Now the mix to get quote-unquote fresh milk with evaporated milk, it's a 1-for-1. Turn up my heat a little bit more here. Now this particular can I got is a 5-ouncer. I could not find any of the 7s. I could not find even the cheap Great Value brand. At the Walmart I went to look for it, wasn't even a space on the shelf for the little cans anymore. They had the large ones, but not the little ones. I think for right now, I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit. Let the heat kind of catch up. And then we're going to be boiling it down into a gravy. Now, if you're doing this as an individual serving, you'd probably be able to get away with just the one little 5-ounce can and a little bit of water. And I'm sure some people would say, but security guy, you're going to be boiling it down to make the gravy, so why add the water? Well, you're not really boiling it down, you're thickening it. That's why we added the flour. When I tried this a couple days ago on the stove inside my house, it went really fast and thickened up really quick. But naturally, my old hot plate here wants to be a pain in the butt, which isn't necessarily a problem because it'll help hydrate the jerky more. Now, there was no seasonings mentioned in the recipe, other than it says salt and pepper to taste. That's all. It said in there in the recipe, cook it to the consistency you want for your gravy. And the reason you're constantly stirring it is to cut down on lumps. Oh, she's starting to thicken now. There we go. Don't take long. Here. See if you can just a little bit more. She's almost there. Oh yeah. I don't think Combat Cameraman has ever had creamed beef before, so this might be his first time. And see, we got a nice thick gravy now. So we're going to dish it up. First his. I'm serving this over a piece of what we'll call homemade bread that someone baked in the field. And also over a piece of MRE bread to show you that you can use it for that too. Once it starts to thicken, it goes quick. I found that out. I looked away from the stove for just a few seconds. When I came back, it was already pretty thick. So now, if I'm doing this as a one serving for myself in the field, I'll just take my bread, toss it inside the mess kit or the canteen cup that I did my gravy in, and just mix it up that way instead of the extra container. Now, we'll add some salt and pepper. So there you go. All right, here you go, Combat Cameraman. You're serving. Just use the fork to break off a piece of bread with some of the SOS on it, and then you try it that way. As I can't get a hold of mine right now. Thumbs up, thumbs down, we got a thumbs up. So there you go, Canteen Cup creamed chipped beef. And I'm calling it chipped beef because I'm using jerky for it. Not using ground beef. Give it a little experiment. Watch your heat. Make sure it's not too high. Keep stirring it, especially after you add the milk in there, to prevent lumps. And be advised, once it starts to thicken, it thickens fast. So be on the watch out for that. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot Militia movements, always remember, essay ons.